Hello, Kidney Warriors. James here from Dadvice TV, and this is Dadvice TV Live, episode number 333. Hey, thanks for joining us this April 15th. Today is the dreaded tax day here in the US, but we're not going to talk about gloomy things. We're going to talk about something really positive. We're going to talk about gut health and the connection to kidney disease. And we've talked a little bit about that the last couple months here on Dadvice TV, but we're going to dive a bit deeper in it. And we're going to talk a lot more about a probiotic that I've been using now for over 5 years as my GFR has gone from a pitiful 8, got up to a 13. I thought I was doing great. I'm now at a 35. I am doing fantastic. But this supplement called Renadyl is a probiotic that's specifically designed for those with kidney disease to help. And we're going to talk about how it helps, who it's for, when it would be taken, and answer all of your questions. So, Lynn, great to see you there. Hey, she said, good evening. Kathy says, hasn't seen me live in a while. Kathy, I am here. I am live. And now let's go ahead and let me bring on my co-host. Now, this is someone who some of you may not have met before. This is his third visit on episode 333. That's a lot of threes. Please welcome Dr. Richard Johnson, known as Dr. Rick. Hey, Dr. Rick, how you doing?
Great. I'm happy to be back and to join you, James.
Awesome. Now, give us a brief rundown of your history so people know you're someone who knows what he's talking about and that this is important stuff, not a bunch of woo-woo.
Yes. So I'm a kidney specialist. I'm a professor at the University of Colorado. I've been studying kidney disease most of my career, actually over 40 years. And I do research as well as clinical work. And probably from the kidney standpoint, I'm best known as the founding editor of our main textbook, which is now in the 8th edition. And so it's the book that all the kidney specialists use. It's the main one they use, not just in the United States, but throughout the world. And I'm not the writer of that textbook. I'm the editor. I'm one of 4 editors. We have probably 200 authors who are all experts writing the various chapters to teach the physicians and the kidney specialists how to best take care of kidney patients. So I'm immersed in kidney disease. I also study many other things, but I'm definitely a kidney specialist.
Yeah, you definitely are. You're the guy that makes sure the books that the doctors learned from is accurate. So
That's
it
right.
is fantastic to have you here. Now
Thank you.
we've got people coming in. Everybody, go ahead, start typing questions. We'll try to get as many of them as we can during our discussion today. But let's start in, Doc, with for those that haven't been here and learned about the connection between the gut health and the kidneys. Can you give us a quick rundown of why that's important?
Sure. For hundreds of years, people really didn't think about gut health. And, even when I was in training, which was not quite 100 years ago, but it was a long time ago, okay? No one really talked about gut health. We knew that there were gut diseases, you could get colitis where you would get bloody diarrhea. There are different types of diseases like Crohn's disease and diseases of the gut that can affect kidneys in different ways. But no one really thought of the gut as being a good guy. We only thought of the gut as, just helping to digest food. And if the lining got inflamed, you could get bloody diarrhea. You could get all kinds of gut issues like ulcerative colitis and things like celiac disease. But we didn't think of the gut as something helping us day to day or being involved in day to day things. And then around, I think it was around in the late 1990s, people began to realize that the gut actually hosts billions of organisms that can actually affect our health. So these bacteria that live in the gut are they're living. It's like they have their home in our body, and they're producing things, and they're digesting things. And we used to think of it as just, yes, that's true, but you poop it out and it's not going to affect us. But actually, a lot of the products that bacteria make can get absorbed in the gut. So our health is reflected a little bit by our gut's health. And the biggest, some of the earliest breakthroughs came from the discovery that the gut bacteria can make the absorption of things easier, or break down the normal barriers involved in absorption. So let me give you a great example of how
Mm-hmm.
gut health can really affect us. So you probably are aware that there's a lot of serious food allergies where, like, kid could eat a peanut and they could get what's called an allergic reaction called anaphylaxis, where they
Mm-hmm.
can
Very dangerous at times.
breathing, blood pressure can fall, their face can swell up. Kids can, anyone can die from an anaphylactic reaction. It's pretty rare, but what's happened in the last 20, 30 years is they've discovered that these that this these kinds of food allergies, these serious food allergies, started to increase dramatically. And so the question is, why are people getting allergies to shrimp and peanuts? And they have to be very careful what they eat. And it's often affecting kids, right? And what they discovered was that certain foods like sugar, soft drinks and sugar, and juices in children can actually attract bacteria that like sugar. So when you eat uh, when you're drinking a lot of this sugar and juices that are rich in sugar, they attract these bacteria that love sugar, and they produce things, as well as the sugar causes things that makes the lining of the gut leaky, and we call it a leaky gut. And normally, when you eat peanuts, the enzymes in our gut degrade the peanuts, and you don't actually absorb the peanut proteins that cause allergy, because our gut metabolizes all the protein into amino acids and stuff. But when you have a leaky gut, suddenly these proteins of the peanuts that normally would not get into the blood do, and then it can trigger, in people who are susceptible, it can trigger this anaphylactic reaction. This leaky gut can also be the cause of diseases like celiac disease, where you become allergic to gluten. The leaky gut is now linked with diabetes. The leaky gut can also lead to inflammation, because when you have a leaky gut, things like inflammatory things that cause inflammation that the bacteria are making can get into the blood. One is called endotoxin, for example. And when you get inflammation, it makes kidney disease worse. It makes heart disease worse. And so, if you have a bad, unhealthy gut, you can have low grade inflammation from the gut, from those bacteria in the gut. And that is actually what probably the most important problem with a sick gut, is this leaky gut. And people with chronic kidney disease were discovered to have leaky guts. And not everyone with chronic kidney disease does, but most people with chronic kidney disease have unhealthy bacteria. Part of that is because they're diabetic, or they have other things that lead to unhealthy bacteria. And sometimes it's just the chronic kidney disease itself.
Mm.
the buildup of these waste products that can get into the gut and attract unhealthy bacteria who then make unhealthy things that we absorb. So when I was young, I thought of the gut as really just being important in nutrition and digestion. But now I know it's a participant. The gut is a participant in overall health, and the gut bacteria, if you have healthy bacteria, they'll produce good things that will keep us uh, healthy. And if they produce bad things, they can cause low grade inflammation that makes kidney disease accelerate and go towards kidney failure. It can make people on dialysis have inflammation. It can cause problems in transplant patients because it can cause inflammation and may actually affect the transplant kidney. And it has a big role on heart disease. So I'm now, as a person who's studied this for years, recognizes that this is an important part of the kidney equation. When you're a kidney patient, you really need to factor in, how to keep your gut healthy. How's that
Yeah.
for a long? Did I put you to
Hey,
sleep?
no, no, no. That is very informative. Now, Wisconsin Grandma, who's a regular, hey, great to see you back, Wisconsin Grandma. She asks, is there blood work that can show you have unhealthy bacteria? Or how do we know that we have an unhealthy gut?
Well, that's a good question. There are ways that we can do it in the research laboratory. It's really easy. We culture the bacteria, we look at what they're producing, we can measure bacterial products in the blood. You can do this thing called PCR test, which is a very fancy and expensive test, but it can tell you if you've got leaky gut. There are tests that doctors can do where they give you a substance to eat and then they see if it gets into your blood or urine. There are many ways that people are doing this, but is there a simple way for a patient to know? Well, I can tell you one thing. If you have chronic kidney disease, you very likely have an unhealthy gut, just normally. So the majority of people do, but not everyone does.
Mhm.
It's what some of the tests that are indirect but can be done very easily is there's a test that you should consider having your doctor do on you, and that is to measure a thing called CRP. It's that's the acronym, but it's called C reactive protein. And what we've learned about that is a blood test, and it tends to be elevated when people are sick or have inflammation. And so that might be a good test. If it's elevated, there's several causes. It's not just unhealthy gut, but it means you have inflammation going on, and a healthy gut will help improve that.
Got it. Now, what can I do to make my gut healthy?
Hmm.
And I know it's more than just eating
Yeah,
healthy,
let's just begin with a
which
simple.
sounds easy, but it's not, or it sounds simple, but it's not easy.
We'll start with the things that you can do that are everyone can do pretty easily. It's not. I mean, it's easy to do, but it's hard to maintain. But
Mhm.
obviously, eating a healthy diet, drinking water, and eating healthy has a big play on the gut. So we know that, as I mentioned earlier, that sugar and particularly soft drinks and sugar, they're bad for the gut bacteria. The bacteria that like it, um, it's really unhealthy for you, and it actually can help make you eating a lot of sugar can drive the bacteria to get bacteria that can actually not only have effects on kidney disease, but on all kinds of things. So eating healthy is really important. And to eat healthy, you want to cut back on sugar. We also know as chronic kidney disease patients, you don't want to be on a super high protein diet. You don't want to be on red meat every day or things like that. But it turns out that you need to have sufficient protein. So you don't want to be on a low protein diet either. You kind of want to be on a regular protein diet. There are certain foods like yogurts, which contain lactobacillus, and lactobacillus is a good bacteria. So yogurts and stuff like that can give you a good bacteria, and that can help. Um, but there are actually things called probiotics, which are um, where companies have designed um, a capsule that has more than one healthy bacteria. And there, the idea is you take these things and you help replace your good bacteria, your bad bacteria with good bacteria. And those are most beneficial when you're eating a healthy diet, because when you're eating a healthy diet, you're kind of stimulating the growth of good bacteria. So if you eat some good bacteria, you want to actually try to eat healthy because that's what the bacteria like. Um, so it isn't just you take a pill and you're going to be better. You really do have to focus on a little bit of healthy diet. Drinking water. I've got some water here.
I got mine right here.
Yeah, and water is extremely good in chronic kidney disease. When you have chronic kidney disease, you tend to build up salts and so forth in your blood, and this helps to keep it healthy. You do have to be careful that you don't drink a huge amount of water, like 2 to 3. If you have chronic kidney disease, maybe 2 liters to 3 liters of water a day is great, but don't drink 8 liters or things like that. Some people can, but you can get into trouble. So I would say 3 liters. And there's this probiotic that I talked about last time called Renadyl, which I've come to like, and it's it's uh, it's there's some nice data on it. I'm sure we're going to talk about it more,
Mhm.
but that's something that some people may want to try to see if it can help you, especially if you have that high CRP. It's been shown to lower CRP, for example, in dialysis patients and so forth. So I would think that might be a good tack. But
Yeah,
uh,
awesome. And now, once the bacteria, if I take a probiotic, they're all different. I want to make sure everyone understands that. There are as many probiotics out there as there are types of sugary beverages. you
right,
know, and they're all different. Drinking a sun-kissed orange is completely different than a Coke, completely different than one of those vitamin waters or something like that. So I don't want people to
yes,
think, I saw probiotics at the dollar store on the shelf. Those will help me. They're all different.
yeah,
And when I take the pill, do I just take a pill once and they start growing, or how do I? How does it work with the probiotics?
yeah. So you're absolutely right. There's a million probiotics out there. So you want one where it's been designed for patients with kidney disease, because there are specific bacteria that are particularly good in the patient with kidney disease. So there is one that's generally great for everybody, and that's lactobacillus. And that's in yogurts and stuff. And I can recommend that for everybody. It's a very nice one to start with, but it's not been designed to address all the issues. It's just a very good one, but then there are many others. And let me tell you about uh, how they were designed for kidney disease. So, just as an aside, as I mentioned, I've been going to the kidney meetings, the national and international kidney meetings for years, and I've had the opportunity to meet many, many investigators, professors, researchers, and so forth. And there is one person who I met years ago at the national meeting who was a microbiologist, and he was coming to these meetings. Um, you know, he wasn't a kidney specialist at all. He was a guy who studies bacteria in the gut. And and I was curious about this guy because he was at every meeting, and I became his friend and talked to him. His name was Rangan. He was this big, tall, lanky Indian man who was had a dream, and his dream was to find a, a pill or to develop a probiotic to treat chronic kidney disease. He was extraordinarily passionate about it, and unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. But he was really a visionary, and when I would go see him, because I do research and I'm always trying to figure out new ways to treat kidney disease, and there are many different ways, by the way. It isn't just fixing the gut. But I was very interested in this man because honestly, there were no probiotics being designed for chronic kidney disease. There were just kind of, as you say, the lactobacillus, the yogurts, and they're good. Those are good. But he wanted to design one for kidney disease. And what was particularly exciting to me was to me, that leaky gut is one of the most important things to fix, because a leaky gut causes so many different diseases. And the leaky gut characterizes the patient with chronic kidney disease. So I was focused on that. Let you get design. I would meet with Rankin and I talked to him about the leaky gut. But then he proposed another idea on top of it that I thought was pretty clever. He said, Rick, what if we identify bacteria that can actually degrade creatinine, that can degrade urea, that can degrade uric acid? In other words, to help the kidneys to get rid of the bad gut, of the things that build up in kidney failure. And I was thinking of how to make the gut healthy so that you don't absorb things you don't want to. But he was thinking of using the gut as a type of extra place to do dialysis,
Mm-hmm.
a way to help remove stuff. This was really very exciting to me. And what happened was I asked him to design one for me, that not for me personally, although I've had kidney disease, as you probably know,
Yep.
James. But I actually wanted to test it in animals, laboratory rats with kidney disease, to see if I could improve their kidney disease with this probiotic. And so what he did was he knew that I have a favorite toxin, and maybe many of those of you who know me know that I'm kind of a world expert on uric acid. And uric acid is this substance that's retained in kidney disease. If it builds up, it can cause the disease gout, which is very common in patients with chronic kidney disease. 1/3 of people with chronic kidney disease, bad chronic kidney disease, have gout. And I'm kind of, well, I would probably say I am definitely one of the world experts on gout and uric acid as it involves the kidney. And we have found that it is a toxin that can, in animals, it definitely drives kidney disease. It's a little more controversial in humans, but I think most people believe it does cause kidney disease. I certainly believe so. Anyway, so he could design. And what's really interesting is just normally 1/3 of the uric acid that we get rid of is through the gut by the bacteria, and 2/3 of it is through the kidney. But when the kidneys start to fail, the gut has to take on a bigger role to get rid of it. And it can't do it very well. And so what happens is the uric acid builds up in the blood, and those crystals can form not just in in the joints, but they can form in the kidneys, making the kidney disease worse. They can form in the coronary arteries and be associated with heart attacks. They can precipitate calcium in the blood vessels to cause calcification, which you don't want your blood vessels to be like calcific. That is bad. It's like a pipe instead of like a stretchable vessel. So uric acid is like a really important poison that can accumulate in kidney failure. And a lot of people take medicine to lower uric acid.
I'm one of them.
Yes, there you go. Allopurinol. I take
Yep.
allopurinol. Okay, and those are great. But what about if you have kidney failure and you just have building up the uric acids? And a lot of people, the allopurinol is not enough, and they end up with a high uric acid. So I told Rangan that was my dream, and he started making probiotics that could degrade that uric acid. And in a really incredible experiment, he sent me the probiotic and he sent me cream of wheat as an alternative kind of fake probiotic. No, so either cream of wheat is bad or the probiotic's good. You can.
I've been taking the probiotic now for 5 years. I say it's good.
Yeah, I would say cream of wheat's all right too. So anyway, so what we did is we raised uric acid in these laboratory animals, and they developed kidney failure and high blood pressure. And when we gave them the probiotic, we could block it. We could really block it. We could protect the kidneys. We could protect the blood pressure. We published it in a top journal. Rangan was delighted and wanted us to write a big clinical trial with him to take it to people. At that time, I wasn't able to do that for a variety of reasons, but he was then able to continue to work on the probiotic, and he made several different types. And one of them is Renadyl, and he made another one called KT301 that's very similar. And he actually did start taking them to clinical trials in the last few years, and he was getting great results. And then he was a bit older than me, and he passed away before the studies could be finished. And so we only have like a 6-month trial, but it was already showing significant benefits on things like kidney disease. And so I don't know if it's from blocking the inflammation from making the leaky gut better, but these things also were degrading some of these metabolites. So it was like a double win. Not only are you fixing the health issue, but you're helping remove the bad guys. So I would say that I've become a fan of it. I should mention it's not like proven, to the FDA and, to that level of proof, but the data is actually pretty good. And, and to doctors, I'll actually show the trial data, which shows significant improvement. So I believe that it will help a lot of people with chronic kidney disease. I don't think it's like totally proven. So it's really an elective choice, but I do think that there's some evidence really supporting it. And so I'm a fan, and I know you're a fan because
Oh
you've been
yeah.
taking.
And the way
And you
I
might
look
have
at
had
it,
that.
yeah, the way I look at it is there's a bunch of things I'm doing to help my kidneys. And some of them help more than others. But I am going to do everything I can to delay or maybe even completely avoid needing dialysis. That's my goal.
Bravo.
And if 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 I ended up on dialysis, I would be upset with myself if I looked back and said, "Oh, you know what? I could have done this. I could have given up soda. I could have done that and not be here possibly." That would just break my heart. So I want to do everything I can. And for those of you, we have a few questions people have been asking. the probiotic we're talking about is Renadyl. It is specifically designed for kidney patients. And the way I like to think about it is you take the pills. A full dose is 2 tablets. You take them. Um, and I've had some people say, hey, they took 2 tablets for many, many months and then they switched to one, kind of to be on a maintenance mode. There's different ways people have used it. I take 2 each time because I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to put the odds in my favor of not going on dialysis or delaying it as long as possible. And I'm talking decades. I want to delay it till I'm like 90 and I'm like, now there's something else. I don't need dialysis. But I look at it as these specific probiotics that are in my gut growing, and I feed them. I'm eating a high fiber diet because they love fiber. It helps them multiply and grow. They're
Right.
like little Pac-Mans, and they're eating uric acid, the things that make your BUN go up, creatinine, all these bad things, so that they don't get absorbed as much into my blood, and then my kidneys have to try to get rid of it, and my kidneys aren't working that great. But instead, these little things like Pac-Man eat it up, and then when I go to the bathroom, do number 2, boom, I flush them away. So my gut is almost working like a mini dialysis alternative. And, it's not really an alternative for dialysis, but I'm using my gut to help support my kidneys. That's how I look at it.
Looks like you have a good gut feeling about things.
There you go. Now, someone said, "Is Renadyl a prescription?" No, it's not. It's a supplement. It's available, to purchase at Renadyl.com. As a matter of fact, let's see. I think they gave us a coupon code to get a discount. It's at Renadyl.com. There it is on the screen, everybody. And if it's your first time buying, there's a discount if you use the code Dadvice2410. It has to be refrigerated. These are living bacterias. And someone said, are there any stomach problems? I'm going to talk from my experience. When I first started taking it, I got a little gaseous. But nothing bad. It's not like how when I was a teen and I'd go to Taco Bell or something, then you didn't want to be in the car with me for another day. Nothing like that. Just a little poot here and there. you know? But then my stomach, I got used to it all as the bacteria grew and I was eating better and just made it part of my daily lifestyle. I have no symptoms whatsoever with it, and it doesn't interfere with any of my medications. And I take a long list of medications because my kidneys were really, really bad when I learned about having kidney disease. I do like to eat yogurt, which is just more good bacteria for me.
Yeah.
So I think we're kind of caught up on a lot of the questions. Some people said, some probiotics give them stomach pains. Debbie, I haven't had any with Renadyl. So it's something, I would definitely recommend trying, or maybe even talk to your doctors. Hey, when I take probiotics, I get stomach pains. Do they have any recommendations for you?
Yeah,
Um,
I think. Yeah, I was going to just say, I mean, it's fine to discuss this with your doctors, and not all doctors believe in probiotics, but I think it's making headway as more and more studies come out. I do think that if you're interested in whether or not it's helping you, you could, record in a notebook what your kidney function tests show, how you're feeling, and maybe if you can get that CRP level. All doctors tend to measure it because it is a predictor of outcome. And if you have an elevated level in particular, you may want to, go on the Renadyl for 3 months and then check and see if it's doing any good. And, if it's not doing any good, you don't necessarily need to continue it. But if you've seen some improvement or if you're feeling better, then you can look at that. And I would be interested. Maybe you can let uh, James know,
yeah.
how you're doing, and he can get back to me so that I can hear these things because I'm curious. I know that in our laboratory studies that we really saw benefit.
Yeah, and what you just described is exactly what I did when my dietitian recommended it to me. And I'm like, okay, let me talk to my doctor. Talk to my doctor and nephrologist. Luckily, both of them knew that I was super nerdy. I did a lot of research, and not to just be like, oh, Jay, no, you don't need that. They knew I would want to know why do you say I don't need it? Because if this is going to help me, you better not tell me no. Both of them, my doctor, my nephrologist said, yeah, give it a try. I got labs, then I took it for 3 months over the holidays, which were very bad to eat healthy. I did not eat
All right.
super healthy. This is over Christmas and Thanksgiving, and then I got labs, and boom, things were better. My BUN so much better. My creatinine had lowered during that time. My lab saw a significant increase, and they're published on dadvicetv.com, my website. People can go there and see my before and my after, and I've been using it. And shockingly, my lab just keeps slowly inching up. My last one's eGFR 35. That's my highest I have been since I've ever gotten my kidneys checked. And I started out at 8, single digits,
Yeah, yeah.
6.5 years ago.
That is pretty amazing. That's wonderful. Keep it
Yeah.
up. I bet you're doing additional things that are healthy
Oh,
too.
yeah.
You probably
I'm watching my
whole,
sodium like
whole
a hawk. You know, yeah, my blood pressure 120 over 80 or better. It's like in the
yeah.
like 110 over 80. Looks fantastic. I'm not exercising as much as I should. I I am enjoying a little too much sugar because I feel so much better. I feel like I don't have kidney issues anymore. I have no symptoms. So
Well,
when I'm at work and we're enjoying stuff, I'm like, sure, I'm gonna enjoy stuff.
I mean, I have a confession to make, which is
Uh-huh.
that I've been writing about sugar for you know 20 years, and I've written books on it. I've done published over 300 papers on sugar. I know how bad sugar is, but occasionally it's just impossible not to take a bite of a chocolate cake or things like that. It is just you people, if they say they never eat sugar, I suspect they're lying.
Yeah, it's okay to
I mean,
treat
there are some
yourself.
people who are really able to do it, but I mean, when it's my birthday and they bring me a piece of chocolate cake,
There you
I
go.
I say, you know what? I know it's not good for me, but you know, so long as you're doing it on very rare occasions, it seems
Yep.
like not.
Exactly. And I feel that for me at least, Renadyl's one of many things that I'm doing that gave me my life back. I'm not afraid to eat. I'm not afraid to go out with coworkers. We were just talking today about going to a Tigers game coming up. That's awful food. That's not kidney friendly food, but I'm not
Hot
worried.
dogs.
Because, yeah, all these things that I'm doing are helping me. And I look at, hey, I'm gonna be walking up and down a lot of steps. I'm gonna get some exercise in. I'll enjoy this stuff, and I just keep doing what I can that lets me have my life back and lets me enjoy it. Now, question for you: we have a lot of people out here thinking, hey, maybe this is something for me. Who is it right for? When should they be considering adding something like this to their treatment strategy that they're doing?
Well, there are all these things called stages of chronic kidney disease, and there's stage one, two, three, four, five, and then people go on dialysis. There's transplants. So there's all kinds of stages and levels. Where we start getting really worried as kidney doctors, or I wouldn't say worried, but what we think of as significant kidney disease is typically a stage three or higher, which means that your GFR is around 60. And when the GFR gets down to 45, going down is bad, all right? So 45, that's when you start seeing complications from kidney disease. Now it's true we would like to uh, to prevent kidney disease when it's very, very early. But just healthy living can can do a lot of good things, drinking water and so forth. I personally uh, feel that when you get to stage 3, which is 60, that's when we really have to start working to improve things, and like probiotics and so forth make much more sense to me at that stage. When it's 85, I mean, just about everybody, that's pretty normal kidney function, a 90 or, so I don't think that I would take a probiotic or things like that for when it's that early. I would just, try to make sure your blood pressure is good, your blood sugar is okay, and just kind of normal diet, healthy diet. But once you get to less than 60, you really do have kidney disease. There is this other side too. There's a normally kidney function will get slightly worse as we age. So if you're like 70 years old or 80 years old and your kidney function is 60, that may not be abnormal in the population sense. And there are some specialists that believe that when your kidney function is around 65 or 60, 55, and you're 70 years old or older, that you shouldn't really consider yourself as having chronic kidney disease. So there's debate about that. But I do think that once the kidney function number gets to like 60, that you should possibly even see a kidney specialist, just to review with them what's going on. They may only want to see you once a year, but I think that that's the cutoff I would use.
Very good. Now, I just started taking an SGLT2, and my
Great.
doctor gave me the green light to take a GLP-1, but she wants to wait 6 weeks to see how the SGLT2 does. And I'm very excited. Those are to help me lose weight. And
They work.
luckily, my insurance now covers them. And I am like,
Oh,
oh
fantastic.
my goodness, I'm so happy.
These drugs are unbelievably great.
Yep.
They're both
And
incredible. They've
yep.
made a huge difference. They lower blood pressure, they improve kidney function, they reduce the risk for heart disease.
I'm
They
going to lose this.
they reduce heart. Yes, they help people with heart failure. They can probably help prevent dementia. There's just so many good things with these two drugs, except they have some bad things. They're expensive, uh,
Yes.
and especially the Ozempics, and they can especially the GLP-1s can be associated with a lot of side effects, and especially with the GLP-1s, when you stop them, you tend to gain your weight back. So there are these definitely negative sides to them, but in the big picture, they are helping a lot of people. They are when if you tolerate them, the benefits you're going to get are very substantial.
Yep.
They're wonderful.
Now, are those okay to, you know, will will they have
The
any
S. By
impact
the way, I see
on?
what Kathy. It's the SGLT2 inhibitors that really help heart failure.
Very good. Is there any concern about taking Renadyl with those? I know like antibiotics are not good. You know, they can kill a lot of your gut health that you've built up. Are the GLP-1s and the SGLTs okay with Renadyl?
Yeah, they do not kill the bacteria. They actually may have good effects on bacteria.
Awesome.
Yeah, but especially like the GLP ones. But yeah, no, I would say that Renadil should be uh, actually probably additive in terms of providing benefit.
Well, I cannot wait because I'm like, I that gave me, the reason to start being more active. It's that little help that I was hoping for. Because the only thing I dislike about going to my doctor, I have no concerns about labs. If they said, James, you can come down every Wednesday and every Friday and get labs, I'd be there. No problems. It's that scale. I hate that evil device. So these are going to help me and you know and better for my kidneys. Again, it's another thing I can do, and now I can afford to do those ones um, to help prolong the usefulness of the kidney function that I have, delay, or maybe even
Yeah, we're
avoid ever needing dialysis. That's my goal. Now,
we're gonna
someone
we're
asked,
gonna want to see a picture of you on a treadmill. After you're put on the GLP-1 and you've lost that weight and you're like
yeah,
suddenly
hey,
super
you know
athletic.
it. I'll be tracking it, and I'll be out there cheering it on. Now,
Good.
someone asked, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, said, is Renadyl available in the EU, in Spain or the EU? I know at one point they did have a company they used to ship internationally. I'm not sure, Freya, and I don't know if you know, Dr. Rick. Do you know if it's available in the EU or in Spain?
I
So,
don't,
Freya,
but
yeah, I'm going to direct her to Renadyl.com. Or actually, here, I'm going to bring you back up.
okay. I don't. Are you guys still there? It looks like I may be cut
Oh,
off.
sorry, we're still there. I accidentally muted my mic. Freya, scan this QR code. It'll take you to the Renadyl website. And there's actually a contact us. You can ask them, hey, do you ship to the EU? And they will let you know. All right, let's try to go back through some more of these questions. Well, someone said, got mine on Amazon. Very good. Um, have you had let's see, someone says they have a very hard time with heart meds. It took a long time for my doctors to find the right combo. I have a very bizarre combo of medications for my blood pressure and to protect my heart. It's on Dadvice TV, Kathy, if you want to go look and see. You're going to be like, holy cow, how did
Yeah,
they figure this out? They did.
yeah. So a lot of times patients with kidney disease and heart disease, when you have both, it's very, very tricky because the kidney disease, you tend to do better when you have extra fluid on board. And in the heart, you tend to do better when you have less fluid on board. And finding that magic treatment that's good for both the heart and the kidney has been challenging. These SGLT2 inhibitors that have come out seem to be a beautiful treatment that helps patients with kidney disease and heart disease. So if you're having trouble, talk to your physician about these drugs called SGLT2 inhibitors. And if you're overweight, the GLP-1s might provide additional benefit too. But the SGLT2s are really great with that heart kidney combination.
Yeah, and luckily my insurance now covers both of those,
Good for
which
you.
is fantastic. And when my doctor, when she prescribed me the SGLT2, she was able to look up my insurance in the computer and she was able to find the right one that was covered. So it's like, hey,
Well,
and
there you
it's
go.
like $5 a month, which is like unbelievable. I think without it, it was like 400 or something. Like, oh my goodness. And the GLP ones, whoa, were unaffordable for me before my insurance now covers it.
Well, yeah, I know. They are getting better at covering the GLP-1s in the last year. I've seen that. Um, and I do think that, it's changing the course of medicine for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
That their health is improving so much on the treatment.
Yep. Now, do you want to answer any of these questions, Doc? You see him there over there. Kathy
No, I don't
just
see.
popped in.
Actually, I don't see. I don't see those questions. Hold on. Where?
There's a button on your screen to open the comments.
Okay. Oh yeah, over in the far right.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of them.
Okay, let's go through. Is hydrochlorothiazide, which is HCTZ, bad for the kidneys? If so, what is a better diuretic? Yes, HCTZ is bad for kidneys. I've written papers on this. It lowers potassium. It increases your risk for diabetes. It has all kinds of effects. It raises uric acid. Unfortunately, it's a very powerful, effective antihypertensive. So it controls blood pressure very well. And so there are people who have to be on it to get that good blood pressure control. But if you can avoid it, you're in much better shape. Now, it turns out that there are many, many other ways to treat blood pressure besides hydrochlorothiazide. And I would go talk to your doctor. Everybody's a little bit different about which one I would recommend. But interestingly, these SGLT2 inhibitors are diuretics and they do not have bad side effects. If anything, they have good effects. So one simple trick is to switch from hydrochlorothiazide to an SGLT2 inhibitor.
And I'll tell you,
We've
they
all
definitely work well as a at sending me to the bathroom often.
Yes. And there, S. Cruz says, drink water. Absolutely. I have actually published on studies showing that if you drink water, you can improve weight, body weight. You can improve insulin resistance and probably chronic kidney disease too. In fact, we have been able to create chronic kidney disease in animals by just heat stress and dehydration. And keeping well hydrated is really critical. We also published that your serum sodium, which reflects your hydration state, can predict whether or not you're going to develop kidney disease to some extent. If your serum sodium is high, it means you're not drinking enough water. So when you get your blood test from your physicians, they rarely tell you about the sodium. But if your serum sodium is high, drink more water. GFR 79, anything I can do? Kathy's GFR 79 is actually pretty good. I wish
Mhm.
mine was 79. I would not worry about 79 in terms of your kidney health. It's still very good, but just try to eat healthy, do the blood pressure and blood sugar thing, and you'll be good.
Now
Stacy,
she did mention earlier that she does have protein in the urine.
yes. Well, that's important. You need to address the protein in the urine. And interestingly, the SGLT2 inhibitors are being showing some promise there, but also what we call the renin-angiotensin aldosterone inhibitors, things like aldactone, things like losartan, and drugs like enalapril are all can help reduce protein. But your doctors will know that, your kidney doctor. If you have protein in the urine, maybe ask to see a specialist. Um, S. Cruz, was it because of the renal? I don't know what
Oh,
that's
now
referring.
she was responding to somebody else had a question
Oh,
or had made
okay.
a comment. Yeah,
What's
a
the
lot of
difference
times
in
they like to talk to each
SGLT1 or
other.
SGLT2? SGLT1 is another transporter. It's the one that transports salt in the gut. And the guy that invented Gatorade, Bob Cade, discovered that the SGLT1 was the critical thing. He saw that all these football players were taking salt tablets, and it turns out that to absorb salt, you need to have a little glucose present because in the gut, the SGLT1 is the transporter that transports sodium, but it does it with glucose. So when he invented Gatorade, the whole trick was to try to figure out how to hydrate people and give them back the salt they've lost from sweating. And he realized that the discovery of the SGLT1 allowed him to make Gatorade, which was the
Hmm.
big breakthrough in the first sports drink. But blocking SGLT1 is not a good thing because you need to be able to absorb salt in the gut. But the SGLT2 is the transporter in the kidney, And there, by blocking it there, you actually get all these benefits. So yes, it makes a difference. The SGLT2 inhibitors are working on a different transporter. Okay, and let's see here. Can probiotics help with a high LDL? God, I hate statins too. Stacy, I agree with you. Statins can really cause so many side effects, but sometimes they're needed. There are other ways to lower LDL. I mean, there was this red yeast rice that people were using, and then there was a contaminant that took it that where they had to stop producing it for a while. I
Mm.
would. I'm not an expert on LDL, but I would talk to your doctors. There are quite a few choices besides statins that are available. What is the connection between hyponatremia and CKD? Yeah, so the serum sodium is normal. You want to have a normal serum sodium when you have chronic kidney disease. And that means a serum sodium normally is about 137 to 136 to 140, 141 or 142, 136 to 142. When you're at the 141 or 142 or higher, it means you're dehydrated and need to drink more water.
Mm.
But if you're drinking too much water, sometimes if your kidneys aren't good enough to get rid of the extra water, you can retain the water, and then you get this thing called hyponatremia. And that's especially common if you're taking hydrochlorothiazide. That HCTZ
Mm.
is really a bad combination with drinking a lot of water. So the first step is, if you have low sodium, is to stop the hydrochlorothiazide. Talk to your doctor, go see them, and get off that, because that can be a cause. And then if you are drinking a lot of water, you may have to cut back. In general, drinking water is great, right? As I mentioned, drink 2 to 3 liters a day. But some people can be sensitive and can hold on to the water. Usually they're on HCTZ, but anyway, talk to your doc about that. My protein in the urine went away with Farjicha. That's a SGLT2 inhibitor. We've seen this. Congratulations, Callie. Wisconsin grandma. By the way, I love Madison, Wisconsin. That's my alma mater, University of Wisconsin. I don't know, Wisconsin grandma, if you're from Madison, but if you are, it's fantastic. But I have a lot of family in Milwaukee and Waukesha, so Wisconsin makes me feel good to see that. One thing I learned is that you're gonna 3 days don't okay. Yeah, if you exercise a huge amount, you can raise your creatinine to the point where your muscles are really aching. People like running marathons, severe
Mm.
exercise absolutely can raise creatinine. Typically, regular exercise does not. So, and in fact, people who exercise regularly can actually have an improvement in their kidney function. But it's that really strenuous exercise that you have to be careful about. Let's see,
Yeah, we have time
Robert.
for one more question.
Okay, okay, Robert Swearingen. What about, I don't know what the mushrooms to help?
Those are mushrooms.
I don't know much about
I don't
mushrooms. I
know.
know that there's some that are really bad. The belladonna, the amanita. There's some that can cause liver failure and kidney failure. So you got to be careful. But there are probably some very healthy mushrooms, but I don't know about them. But make sure, whoever is eating mushrooms, make sure that you know what you're eating and that they're not the poisonous ones. Because I know of a whole family that went into liver failure in Oregon
Oh,
because they were out camping and they ate the wrong mushrooms, and all of them ended up needing liver transplants. So
oh,
rarely. I mean, if you're eating the wrong ones, it can be uh, really severe. So be careful about eating wild mushrooms.
yep.
So good.
All right. Dr. Rick, this has been a great conversation. So, we talked about the importance of gut health, the connection between the gut health and your kidneys. We talked about probiotics, they're not all the same. We talked about Renadyl, which is a probiotic I've been using for over 5 years now, that's specifically designed for kidney patients. everybody out there, it's pretty much like little Pac-Mans in your gut that break down some of these bad things so they don't get absorbed all into your blood. Some of them take a different path. Almost my movement of my hands causes that
That
effect.
was unbelievable. Congratulations.
Yeah, it helps you kind of poo away some of the stuff so your kidneys get a break and they're not being bombarded with all this work that they have to do because we all, we're sitting here with kidney disease. Our kidneys aren't working fantastic. That's a comment right there for you from
Yeah, Green
Wisconsin
Bay. Well, I
Grandma.
love Green
Green
Bay,
Bay.
and my family was from Fond du Lac, so
Yeah. And for anyone out there who's interested in learning more about Renadyl, you can go to renadyl.com. I put the URL up here on the screen. Also, if it's your first time purchasing Renadyl, you can use the discount code Dadvice2410 and they will give you a discount. The people behind Renadyl, Kibow Biotech, Kibow, Kibow.
yeah,
I'm going to
Kibow
keep it short.
Biotech or whatever they are. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short. Kibow are very, very supportive of the kidney community. And it's fantastic when you see a company that actually cares about the kidney community. They helped me get Dr. Rick here. And they've got me connections with other specialists too. I reach out to a contact there. I'm like, hey, you guys got any people we can bring on to help everyone out here in Dadvice TV? And they're like, sure, no problem. So it's fantastic to work with companies as great as in that support our community. Um, I will be back here with Dr. Rowe on the 24th. I want to wish everyone out there a great weekend up ahead. I am going to be traveling to a small kidney event and some other things this weekend in southern Ohio and visiting my parents. Like, there's my dad. Says great show. And there's my mom. I'll be visiting them this Sunday, seeing them for Easter. But I wish everyone out there a wonderful rest of your week. If you haven't done so, get your taxes done while you still got time. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone.